How to get someone to respond to you. So in this video, we're going to talk about how you can get someone to respond to you, whether you're just trying to reach out to them for the first time or you're trying to follow up on some previous interaction. And if you like this content, make sure that you hit the like button and the subscribe button. That will help us spread the word about this channel. Now, let's dive into the presentation. Now, we've all been there trying to get someone to respond to our emails, our calls, our voice messages. But instead of creating the best possible circumstances for us to receive a response, we tend to do two things. The first one is give up. We don't know what to do, how to do it, and the whole thing makes us uncomfortable. If they really wanted to respond to us, they would, right? Well, actually, that's not correct in most cases, and we'll cover this further in future videos, the reasons behind why someone isn't responding to you. And the second point is, we continue to follow up, but we do it the wrong way, actually making it less appealing and more difficult for someone to respond to us, even if they wanted to. Now, obviously, there's always going to be cases where someone doesn't want to respond to you, and there's little that we can do about that. But in this video, we're going to look at 3 different ways for you to create the best possible circumstances for someone to do get back to you. Use different channels. Now, if you really want to get someone's attention and get on their radar, you don't want to use the same channel of communication for all touch points. We've all received these kinds of emails, the ones that just keep coming, often with the same type of messaging. And this is incredibly ineffective. And often what happens is that the recipient will just delete the emails, the times that the emails don't actually end up in the spam folder in the first place. And fact of the matter is, if we're talking about emails, it's very easy for someone to continue to delete your emails or ignore them if they already have started doing so. And I bet you've already done this yourself with some of the spam and junk mail that you're receiving. What is much more effective is to use different channels of communications for your different touch points. Now, this means that you may send someone an email, but the next touch point and follow-up is not an email. It may be a message on LinkedIn, or it may be a phone call, and then you may circle back to using emails again. And if you do this, you're going to see that it produces much better results. The second point is summarize and vary your content. Don't use the same kind of content and messaging in your different touch points. We've all received these emails that just keep telling us, I'm just following up on this, I'm just touching base on this. And it's a really lazy way of following up on someone because you're leaving it to the recipient to try to figure out what you want or recall what your interaction was all about whenever you interacted with that person last. It's much better to use different content and information in all of your follow-ups. It will make it a whole lot more appealing for someone to engage or re-engage with you. And finally, if you've already had interaction with someone, then make sure that you follow up post-interaction with a summary note, preferably via email. That note should simply, in brief, cover what your interaction was all about and what that person said. Now, this will accomplish 2 things. It will serve as a reminder to you, but also them, so that when you do follow up in the future, there's background to what they said and did at the time that you spoke or interacted. It's much easier for them to start interacting with you again if they can see that you've interacted in the past. Don't leave it to them to try to remember what your engagement was all about. And the final point, number 3, avoid the long chains, and particularly using the same type of information and content. And this really is the worst types of follow-ups, when someone is emailing you and they keep responding to their own emails and using the same type of content. Something like, hey, Bill, I'm just following up. Hey, Julie, I'm just touching base. Eventually, you will have a trail of emails with the same content that goes back months. Now, even if you wanted to respond to a message like this, it would be difficult because you would feel bad because you haven't responded to all of these messages over all of this time. So don't make this mistake. Use different channels, use different messaging and content, and make it easy for the recipient to understand why responding and engaging with you is beneficial for them. So that was the 3 key points that I wanted to cover with you today. And please remember that we're not talking about spamming people here and continuing to follow up perpetually. You really need to approach this carefully because you will be dealing with a sophisticated target audience and you want to ensure that you're able to circle back in the future. So that was everything that I had for you in this video. I hope you liked the content. If you did, make sure that you hit that like button and the subscribe button. And if you have any comments or questions and even suggestions for future topics I should cover in these videos, then put them down in the comment section. Thanks very much for listening in.